morning, Jen.
Hello.
Oh,
No joke. We just had our producer in our year. The camera comes on us and he goes, "Oh, it's you, by the way." So hello, everyone. Welcome.
We were arguing about the melodies of iconic like stadium songs. Do
you know the name of the song? Because I don't.
No, I don't know either. So we're gonna focus back on the job in front of us. If I knew the name or was confident enough to sing the melody
Are you all ready for this?
Dun 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 dun. Wait,
How are
okay,
you, Daniel?
fine. I'm good. Dagda, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
That's excellent.
I'm glad we're not
I'm
doing
also
music
fine.
today, 'cause
Thanks
this
for
has been a little
asking.
I thought we were just passing it in a circle.
Yeah.
How are
That
you,
was
Ben?
Dagda's
I'm
turn
good.
to
Thank you,
pass
Dagda. I'm great. It's a pleasure to be here, gentlemen. We're getting ready for Vitality versus BDS. That means we need the music for the draft. So without further ado, let's get into it.
So here we are coming into game one. Both these teams had the privilege of watching all these other best of threes go down, can adjust their read on the meta, so see what they want to prioritize today. Again, reminder, final spot on the line. Loser here going to go down to face the winner of Mad versus G2. Let's see who can take game one.
So, BDS, Dagda, we were talking seconds ago about what we expect their bans to be. Jace already on the board. Kennen a little bit surprising, but the Rakan is what we expect to come out from them next. So far, they have been consistently removing that Rakan, something that they have shown that they don't really want to pick or deal with.
Yeah, it's actually funny. I thought it would be BDS who had to ban the Annie, but with Vitality taking that off the board, it does open up for the Kennen. And now the big question mark is what do you try and finish off with here? Is going to be that Zeri. I think that's going to be a red side permaban. Incredibly strong. And I mean, we've already seen Crownie get the pentakill on us.
Yeah, and I think Crownie has not only been the most consistent player on this lineup, but also most consistent in terms of what they are going to opt to get him in draft. It is always late game scaling carries. The Zeri is just the one that has looked the best. It is going to be a Maokai first pick now locked in for BDS.
Wow, so we saw Bo tweeting yesterday with the tweets, first pick Maokai, and then the gif of laughing. He seems to want to have that Maokai first picked. The immediate response is going to be the Wukong. We saw Bo have a phenomenal performance on the Wukong last week, and we're going to see the Jinx locked in very early. Obviously, around the world, we've been seeing this Jinx priority, especially over in the LPL, be incredibly dominant. But here in the LEC, Kazi absolutely popping off on the pick as well.
I think it's such a strong pick. Now, usually we see the answer as the Aphelios coming through, but opt into Cool in the start, and it looks like that's going to be the case here as well. The big question mark is then, do you try and steal away something like the Thresh here that usually gets paired with this?
And I'm really excited to see what Crownie can do here on the Aphelios, because we haven't seen people take that option. It's been Jinx versus something that maybe a Sivir sometimes. We haven't really seen a lot. Yeah,
well,
exactly. He did, and one of the big things is gun management. I mean, it's really micro, but the bottom line is Crownie's very confident in this champion, and I think could be giving us a masterclass individually, and he's going to have to going up against a player like Upset. That said, Orianna catching me a little bit out of left field, I will say, opting for more scaling, more team fighting options, it seems, from the side of BDS.
Especially when we've kind of seen that shift in the meta towards these more facilitator mid lanes where you can play through strong mid jungle, lean on towards dragons, and then try and play out that style. That's why I much prefer something like an Ahri here, because especially when we looked at Vitality in their last series against Astralis, their mid jungle support was everywhere, and it made it so difficult for the opposition to try and interact with the game. So I'm not surprised to see Vitality try and fall back to that.
And you talk about LPL drafts. That's a winning draft in LPL right there on the side of Vitality. I mean, we're in the LEC, so we're going to have to see if Vitality can make the same impact out of these champions. But Wukong Ahri is a mid-jungle duo premier option right now in the current meta. Yes, if you mis-execute it, it doesn't always look as flashy. That's why it's struggled a bit in LEC, but across the world, this is one of the most powerful mid-jungle combinations.
Prime real estate right now is the Thresh. You talked about it just a second ago, Dagda. The Nautilus ban is what I expect to come through from Vitality right now, because BDS has their eyes set on this top lane removal. With the Olaf being taken away, Vitality is saying, you know what, we are a little bit concerned about your blind pick options. We think based on what we have left, Olaf could be a big problem.
Especially since I think BDS round up the Jax ban here. Photon's been fantastic in it. Has actually been willing to play it into that Olaf matchup as well. So I think they're a little bit nervous about not having a response for Photon up there, but I do agree, Thresh just feels like the most likely pick here.
Yeah, I think Thresh into a blind Scion from BDS. Something that we've been seeing a lot from Adam. You look at their front-to-back composition, that they've gone for so far. And with the Gwen and the Rumble removal, this to me suggests that this could be something that they're looking at. The Malphite perhaps as well. Just a frontline tank to set up those initial engages.
Yeah, and I'm always a little bit nervous seeing the Malphite locked in. We remember Adam in the previous game that they played, essentially unkillable, built 2 armor items against a full AD team, and just walked at them menacingly enough to win the game in what was a very Vitality-controlled match. For now, though, the Lulu locked in alongside the Jinx, so really wanting to win that lane, taking the range support option, not opting for the safety of a Thresh, instead opting for something that can trade a bit more aggressively, push a bit more aggressively.
It does mean like something like a Malphite, though, is really strong for Adam. Hasn't really played it this split, but if you actually end up opting in towards that, you don't really have that safety of the reposition coming through. You're more reliant on, hey, can the wall growth provide enough health? And you kind of take away what I feel like Photon is probably going for, just that big engage tool to set up alongside Bo, because relying just on a Wukong can be a little bit difficult.
Well, I'm looking at this BDS draft, and it's very true to their form. Will they blind the Darius? Yes, they will. Adam
Normally they give
long.
us like 30 seconds of suspense so we can talk about with slow dramatic voices about what would it mean.
Adam
what
just said, Darius, what have you got? Photon, show us. I think a lot of the conversation has been around, has Adam been top 2, top 3 performing top laner in the league, as Photon has clearly owned that #1 position.
Yeah.
And now Adam is throwing the gauntlet down. What have you got? And he's answering with the Akshan.
Okay, as long as Perkz isn't playing it, I am excited. It was a little tragic the last time this man picked up this champion in the mid lane, but Photon busting out the Akshan again, the pressure is on. I expected something safer, like maybe a Gnar, but instead really laying down the gauntlet here in game 1.
It's super interesting though, because now Vitality have kind of shifted up where instead of actually trying to play into the short range composition where like Aphelios thrives, the Darius thrives as well, instead they're going to go, cool, we can try and play side lanes with this Akshan. We have a ton of range, a lot of abilities that can actually like get us out of the problem spots. So it feels like Vitality just going to try and use their range in the 4v4 and see if they can have Akshan just push in for days.
I'll also say that while there are many like Vayne top, Akshan top, these champions can sometimes struggle against Darius when against the Ghost. His ability to chase you down, if he's able to land the apprehend, he can just stick on you for a really long time. But Akshan, you have so much mobility at your disposal, combined with the E, along with the flash you're expected to have, along with the creativity that you can leverage with the W, being able to go invisible, move around on the map. Like, this top lane is going to be very volatile, very, very volatile, and the junglers are going to have a very active role in the outcome of this top side, while I think Vitality overall have a lot more early game skirmishing power, largely thanks to their mid-jungle. BDS have very strong team fighting tools later on into the game.
And it does feel like that mid-jungle for Vitality is going to be the focal point. Can you unlock Ahri? Can you play up towards that top side? Make sure that you're actually able to get this Akshan rolling, because as Vedi rightly pointed out, if you start to fall behind, this composition for BDS is going to be so good at objectives.
And here we go, game 1, Team BDS versus Vitality. Here we are, full commitment onto the top side. We were talking about the 1v1 between Akshan, between Darius, between Adam and Photon. BDS committing a lot of resources to make sure that they have all the information they need to ensure Adam's success here on the top side.
Drakos, could you show us the runes very quickly? Because when we have a look at the top side of the map, you'll notice that Photon choosing to also go for the flash plus ghost, but Adam running the phase rush so he has that ability to help stick to those targets. Darius often has this problem of getting kited, right? That's often why you'll see them run the flash and the ghost, so they have that much more impact in the team fights. But Photon recognizing that if you also just run the flash, there is that real risk of you just getting chased down by a Darius. So being able to match it with the ghost, I think is a really valuable choice. I think this top lane, again, can be very volatile. If Adam is able to get ahead, AD carries can often struggle.
But you got to proc phase rush, and I think that's going to be the big struggle, especially against Fleet footwork on the opposite side. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye. We know Adam, even if he drops down a ton in CS, just the kit power of Darius means if he's ever in melee range, he's probably winning the lane, but something we're going to have to keep our eye on as well as we turn our attention elsewhere.
I think it's also really interesting because both these top laners have been so consistently, even if you look at like when we had Jax for Photon in the last series, have just been running these non-TP setups from the summoner spells, and it's been working out really well, where Vitality and both BDS have just done a good job of prepping lanes in advance, making sure that even if they have to drop a wave, they can still be there for dragons and everything else. So I have to see now who's going to come out on top here, because it feels like if Photon can get control controlling that top side. The ability then for him to sneak up on you with that W, find picks in mid, is going to be very difficult for Nuke to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, in the early game, you can already see the range advantage playing out in favor of Photon. He's zoning Adam away from the farm. Is very much what you'd expect. Meanwhile, in the mid, Nuke actually able to get that early priority on the Orianna, trading very effectively against the Ahri. There's Upset and Kaiser getting prio in bot lane. A hook does land, but no level 2 for Labrov means it's hard for them to really follow up. Overall, 2 pushing lanes of Vitality. Perkz should be able to get the bounce back. And it looks like the junglers are overall just doing a full clear, but crucially, Sheo is pathing up towards top. And look, as he navigates his way into the river, looks like he's just going to drop a ward. Thought he might go for a creative path, try and navigate around that ward, but for now he's just going to go back to farm.
And I think the big concern for me is you first pick this Maokai, what is it going to do for you? Because what it has meant giving up is Bo's Wukong, and this has been a terrifying pick in his hands, and almost exclusively in his hands. A lot of other players have struggled to have that impact in the games, but you can see the damage per minute, you can see the gold difference, you can see the individual level that Bo's Wukong can bring to a game.
And Bo, I think that's where they need Sheo to try and shut him down. Sheo's been really, really good when it comes to, hey, I'm going to track the enemy jungler. I'm going to make sure that I'm in the right place as a big wave, say, is crashing in the top side. So this is where I want to see if Sheo can keep up that presence, actually spot out where Bo is, get that vision down, and make sure he can pop out on the Wukong like we saw against Astralis.
It's crazy to recognize he averages a 1.2k gold lead at 14 minutes. This man is a monster on the champion, but so far, a very timid early game. Nothing too crazy happening.
I mean, a lot of very aggressive trading in the mid lane just hasn't amounted to a whole lot yet. And for now, junglers willing to hold hands. And I will say on the bottom side of the map, as much as I'm like, yes, Crownie versus Upset, as much as on paper this is going to be a hype matchup, it's going to be a hype matchup, 1 item, 2 items, or whenever the junglers decide to show their head. We're kind of just playing the waiting game right now in terms of early itemization.
Yeah, it's interesting when I was joking about this with Medic, but everyone was really bored of the Jinx Aphelios meta, and then they were like, oh wow, we've got a new meta, and then they got really tired of the Zeri meta, and then they were like, oh cool, let's bring Jinx Aphelios
We
back.
will always complain.
Anything else.
I will say, we've been asking for Xayah Kai'Sa since 2019.
We had Xayah for a little while,
but we never got Xayah full Xayah Kai'Sa meta. I'm saying that's the one meta we haven't gotten back since complaining about it.
People got tired about that one too.
They did. Yeah. In hindsight, we didn't know how good we had it. That said, it's not Lucian, Nami, or Varus, so I am enthralled at the moment.
True. Anyway, in terms of how this early game is going, you will see that Bo getting spotted out on this ward around the rafters. Of course, Vitality do have information on that ward. And there's a ward there placed by by Vitality to spot out Sheo as well. So full information garnered on where the enemy junglers are. Overall, pretty even trade across the board as everyone just going pretty neutral in terms of farm.
This draft, though, it does make it a little bit difficult for BDS to enact their game plan, but I'm going to hold on as Bo will spot Sheo, because one of the big things that we've seen is like, hey, get control over boss, try and work off of mid pressure to work for these early dragons, but when you've got the Jinx Lulu on that bot side, they have a lot of control over the wave. Perkz has been relatively fine in this mid lane as well, so it makes it kind of hard for BDS to keep up that 100% dragon rate that Guldborg was so good at depicting on the desk.
Yep, and luckily, for those of you who are BDS Dragon enthusiasts, our wonderful team behind the scenes, they've cooked up this timer. You can see on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. We'll check in on it intermittently. It's been 20 days, 21 hours, 49 minutes, 49 seconds and counting since BDS gave up a Drake. Is it a fun fact or the funnest fact? It's really hard to decide.
I would say the funnest, Daniel.
The funnest indeed. Is it a word also up for debate? That said, we'll check in intermittently just to see how that timer's ticking up.
The junglers hovering around mid. Labrov makes his presence, well, unknown for the time being. Perkz is suspicious. He feels that something is amiss, but he goes in. Forward.
Hook from behind. Labrov. Clean setup. There's no way out. Excellent first blood coming in. I love the angle from Labrov.
Yeah, I mean, they just end up kind of bait.
Adam.
Photon.
5 stacks. Gonna ult. He's just gonna bleed out. Maybe. Now ulting just to poke back. All right, I oversold the Darius passive damage a little bit. 150 health remaining. Photon's fine.
Still, they'll have to be careful. Sheo's working his way up towards this top side. He's going to stop off for the crab, but still, Photon, you can see a lot of early summer spells burnt by the Akshan, but you still have the ghost there for the Darius.
Yeah, crucial in that instance. Photon, I think, panicking a little bit, just trying to get out of that situation, pops the ghost as well, but Adam holding onto the ghost means for the next few minutes at least, he's got a lot of kill pressure on the top side. The second his ult is back up, he can try again. Sheo already got a successful gank in the mid lane, now looking to rinse and repeat here in the top lane.
Good ward placement from BDS so that they can spot out Bo. They see that he's hovering around and could protect Photon in the event of a dive, so BDS don't gamble it. But we talked about this top lane matchup and how volatile it can be. Adam only committing the flash, getting 2 summoner spells out from Photon just goes to show. Hook goes wide. There's a good trade back from the Vitality bot lane. Crownie, though,
They
a
can't.
lot of chakrams.
Yeah, they can't really trade back. He has level 6. Upset has 0 mana. Another big thing, Labrov already finding that roam is massive for the team. Credit to him for finding that creative angle, but also Crownie opted for the Cole, and they really haven't been able to stop the Aphelios whatsoever, so he's just making himself a cheeky bit of money here on the bottom side.
Yeah, it's been really interesting to see like the evolution of this bot lane, because traditionally it started off with, oh, you know, Jinx pushes in third wave, she resets, she picks up the Cull. So then the Aphelios just started with the Cull, so then the Jinx started with the Cull as well, but now Photon.
Adam.
Really good trade once again by Adam. I'm sure he's played into range matchups multiple times, being a Darius enthusiast.
Also, credit to Photon for going Swifties first. Bo, getting aggressive, heroic swing coming in for Photon. Adam taking a lot of damage. That's the second proc, but Adam still walking for now. Third hit, not quite enough. Photon, Adam just... Oh!
Did the tower swap aggro?
The tower swapped and the creep blocked the autos from the ultimates. That was a disaster for Photon.
I don't think he finished the charge. I don't think he... What? All right, we're going to need a replay, observers. Wow.
Wow. BDS.
That sucks. That is about the worst possible series of events. Is insult to injury is that they're making a play on the bottom side. Huge damage from Crownie. Marks him with the Calibrum. Green-white doing tons of damage here.
And it was supposed to be Vitality's early game. It was supposed to be Vitality that had agency. Now, Adam, he had an awareness that Bo was around here. The damage looks pretty promising at the start. Bo is tanking the tower initially. Oh, he Qs a minion rather than Adam. And then Photon trying to get that last hit in. Gets hit.
That's so much damage.
What? I was not keeping track of how many stacks the tower was
get a
doing.
background check on that tower? Is that tower, is Vitality listed under that tower?
Wow.
I think
that
it's the
was
BDS jersey underneath those plates.
Damn. That was personal.
Looking for a top play once again. 5 seconds on the Ghost.
And it doesn't get much better.
Oh, the E
heroic
gets
swing
interrupted.
They can just keep chasing here. Adam taking the tower, though, maybe means they can turn it back. He's now running for dear life, but the tower charging up. It won't finish him, however. Photon gets the auto. Photon gets the heal. Photon's now zooming out to safety. Fleet footwork, baby. Doing so much work here.
Oh, Daniel, get the timer up, get the timer up. The dragon has been started by Vitality.
20 days, 21 hours, 53 minutes, 47 seconds. Counting down. Ladies and gentlemen, you are here to witness a historic moment. Reset the counter. It has been 0 days, 0 minutes, 0 hours, and 4 or 5 seconds.
Since the last accident.
No, that's
BDS, they lost their first dragon. 16-0 was the score. They're a team that typically played around this objective to great effect, but Vitality have been able to secure their first.
And I'm just going to say that given how well this early game is going for BDS, if they had to pick between keeping that streak alive or having these 3 kills and this 1.5k gold lead, I think they'd pick what they've got right now.
Arrogance, Daniel.
I know. It's poor form for me as a caster. The narrative should carry that weight.
Perkz, though. Now moving up to the top lane. Oh, no. Upset was not expecting Adam.
He's getting bullied. Well, that's the fully proc passive. Darius now has a gajillion AD.
Oh, there's so many Vitality members down here, though.
Bo.
Revenge.
The dive.
Will the tower single them out this time? Adam surely should fall. Blocks a few of the bullets with the tower. There's a TP now coming down. Are they going to back away and just be happy with that one? It looks like the answer is yes, but Adam wanted to apprehend, wanted to pull back in. They do get the TP.
Off an apprehend definitely would have been a kill. BDS looking to make the cross map happen, but Perkz will go back to base. So BDS should be able to secure some plates for themselves in the top lane. Herald as well available for Sheo. So losing that Drake wasn't the end of the world for them. And Nuke and Bo now going to run into each other.
Ooh. One knockup coming through. Dash in. Doesn't have the space to get the second knockup. Ooh, rocket.
Good damage.
Nuke much closer to death than he initially anticipated after that rocket does manage to come through. But BDS breaking open top lane tower, continuing to extend the goal lead. And remember, we talked about it on paper. The later we get into the game, the stronger, the more powerful BDS's composition becomes. You've gotten Aphelios, you've gotten Orianna, 2 incredible scaling picks. And right now they are owning this early game.
Ultimate comes out from Sheo, largely to zone Perkz off of the tower, and it's going to do just that. 5 plates, well, 4 plates into the back pocket of Crownie means that he's going to pick up a lot of gold, and you can see these gold gaps starting to build in the AD carry position, in the jungle position. We talked about how Bo, on average, had a 1.4k gold lead on this Wukong. But Sheo, so far, had a relatively safe early game and a very successful one with what he's been able to do on the map.
And I think the fact that BDS are actually getting control over the map is so important for them as well. When you can get vision down around these dragons, around Rift House, start to take towers, it becomes much more difficult for Vitality to try and use the range advantage that they have. And suddenly Sheo can come in with a big ultimate, a hook from Labrov can catch someone out, and that can very quickly turn the tide in BDS's favor.
And really big just credit to BDS thus far this game. Taking a lot of control. I think the window of opportunity for Vitality is still open in terms of the plays they can make with a combo like the Ahri and the Wukong, but Adam already off to a good start, and Crownie miles ahead of the opposition is exactly what you want to see if you are a BDS fan. BDS now taking a bit of control on the bottom side, maybe looking to break open another tower. Kaiser an upset. It'd be hard to hold this 2v2, but Wukong hovering in the area. Akshan ready to come down from mid lane if he needs to.
It's interesting that they've moved Photon down into mid. I imagine a large part of that is because of his lack of teleport. Perkz, of course, with that still on cooldown for the time being, but I guess they believe that with Perkz' wave clear, he's in a safer position in the 1v1, but Adam's done a great job of getting through what should have been a much harder laning phase, but with great itemization, mitigating a lot of the damage from Photon. He's been able to weather the storm. Now, though, BDS set their eyes on this bot tier 1.
BDS setting up, good guns, really hard to engage on the Aphelios here. They do an immense amount of damage. 5 members strong on the bottom side for BDS, fully committed. There's no map play open for Vitality right now. They are full committing here, and Perkz looking for the flank, looking for the charm. Nuke now taking a ton of damage. Sheo can just body block here on the ultimate. It's going to get interrupted, I believe. No, it's just going to get blocked by Sheo. Hook going over the wall, will not connect. Adam now coming in, full committing here. Bo going over the wall, going to knock up onto 1, but I think the call just needs to be disengaged. Bo, though, really just continuing to step forward, ready to try and find a fight. Ulti burned, and not a lot achieved there for Vitality. They spent everything they had to match the play, and Crownie's still getting plates in the meantime and doing a lot of damage to Upset. He's going to mark him. He can get the snare to follow, but not enough damage to finish the job.
Photon still wants to go for Crownie, though.
Heroic swing. Boomerang will not connect.
And you're kind of seeing the downside of Vitality's composition. When we're saying, look, just Wukong engage isn't really enough. Yes, can do wonders when you've got some sort of follow-up, but Bo goes in, and Vitality kind of go, cool, we'll take pop shots, 1-2, and that's kind of it. So for BDS, you're in a great spot.
Yeah, and look, Akshan has the Kraken Slayer. He can do a lot of damage if Photon gets the time, but they're just not giving him the opportunity, and this really sucks for Vitality because, especially as we go further into the series, regardless of the results of this game, if your early game on your counter-pick topside goes this badly, that makes the blind Darius that much better in every following game in this series.
Sure. I think that BDS have kind of done a great job. I think a lot of it thanks to their early vision control. They did a really great job of just warding in the right places to spot out all of Bo's early pathing and mitigate what he was trying to do. They had good control over the mid matchup where Nuke just kept the wave pushed in. And they found great opportunities. They found a pick on a Kaiser, they found a pick on a Perkz, and Labrov has been instrumental in finding these picks. BDS, though, returning to their comfort zone, set up beautifully around the dragon, and Vitality will look to just make the cross map happen.
Rift held up in 50 seconds as well means that you can probably reset here for BDS and immediately move up towards that objective as well, although at the moment they're just happy to keep that presence on the bottom side. They want to trade 2 turrets for 1 and a dragon. I mean, it's all BDS right now.
I mean, note that the goal difference between the AD carries exclusively comes from tower plates. I mean, there is also a 30 CS difference. Remember that Crownie was able to catch a lot of farm top while a dive was happening down bottom to Adam, which failed from the side of Vitality. Then when BDS brought 5 members down to the bot side, Upset also lost a lot of farm there. So while Crownie has just been gaining gold all across the map, Upset just continues to be put behind. Now he's secured the Kraken Slayer, but Crownie already well on his way to his second completed item.
Gale Force working towards what looks like an Infinity Edge right now. That is going to be a very powerful Aphelios. This is an interesting look for BDS because oftentimes Crownie is just very quietly scaling on the bottom side, doing well in lane, waiting to be a big teamfight threat. But BDS have very clearly, very deliberately pumped so many resources into this Aphelios that he is so far ahead of the clock now. It's going to be hard for Vitality to find a teamfight angle here. If they want to take this, they really need to burst down a single member to kick things off.
Nuke did just reset, so he has to TP back in before they can go for this. Photon only making his way through mid, though.
Again, they get the TP. Bo now going to be in trouble here. Herald taken out. Bo now leaping out to safety. Adam Charm, decent damage, but they can't quite finish the job. Rocket going to connect onto 3. Excellent hook from Labrov. Reading the movement, coming in for Perkz. Now Perkz locked down on the backside. Crownie, red, white. Vitality continuing to try and take this fight, but Bo already down.
I really think if you're Vitality, you need to get to these fights sooner. Try and get some poke down with the range that you have, but just late to the party, Nuke gets the TP back in, and a great pick onto Bo. Now sets them up with the Rift Herald. Mid tower should be traded here, though.
The problem with the Akshan in this situation is, especially when you're playing in a front-to-back, BDS can just tank more on their front line. Vitality is constantly trying to play in this retreat space, whereas BDS can just keep walking forward and hit the person in front of them. Photon is looking for a pick, but I don't know if he's really going to be able to find anything.
Continuing to step forward, just playing on the edge here, waiting for the recall, keeping vision. Lantern ready to get him out. Crownie going to have to take that one out to safety. So they delay the recall, but not going to be able to find anything greater there.
But we can see how... Let's just keep tracking this fight, because it's Bo that starts the initiation. He goes in to try and steal the Herald. He's going to get chain CC'd. He is able to pop the clone so that he can create some space between him. But then look at that hitting. The Darius and the Maokai. They're barely taking any damage. Perkz looks for a flank. A great hook comes in from Labrov to mitigate that flank. And then Bo just gets absolutely melted on the front line thanks to Crownie's damage. And this backline of BDS is just so safe as Vitality... Again, they are just playing a very standard front-to-back, which is the ideal situation for BDS to play.
And that's the problem with the Bo, with this just Divine Sunder, isn't going to be strong enough to try and withstand so much. So at this stage, Vitality, I think it's kind of going back to the drawing board a little bit for this Game 2 draft, because one of the big things I was looking forward to in this series was seeing, okay, let's get Kaiser on, something where it can actually roam and have an impact in the early stages. Let's try and play through this mid-jungle a little bit more, like we saw against Astralis, but that's not what's happening in this game. And it's actually Labrov who gets that great roam off early. It's BDS who are getting control in that mid-jungle, and now Perkz trying to see if he can catch out Adam, but just won't have a chance.
Fun fact, in the last 2 minutes of casting, we're 1 for 3 on correct pronunciations of Labrov's name. I called him Bubrov, and you called him Lubov. So
Lads,
shout out Dagda.
You know it's bad when I'm the one that's saying things correctly.
Labrov, we apologize.
Yeah, just oopsie on the
day.
day.
Living, but words are hard.
We're just really excited about that particular hook onto Ahri. Just getting caught up in the moment. And right now, you know, this was a series that I don't think anyone could honestly predict a 3-0 either way. Both these teams looking very impressive. Neither one of them dropping a single game in the group stage. 2-0s across both best of 3s. But very impressed by the level BDS are showing right now in Game 1. And Vitality, I think, risked a bit more in this draft overall. You know BDS drafted the safer composition. So if you told me BDS won with this, I could see it. But BDS winning the early game with this composition, I think, is what's so impressive.
Sheo might get caught out here just a little bit, but I think it's been a very different style of game than I expected, because even coming into this backstage where chatting, I was like, this is going to be a bloodbath, going to be a ton of action, and I was like, yeah, this is going wonderful. I mean, it's
Quiet
just
macro game.
I will also say that Adam's itemization, not your typical Darius build, but he's like, oh, 280 carries and Wukong, already your only AP damage when you're building Everfrost. Cool. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's read Darius's passive, but he just gets, again, like max rank 260 free AD. So he can just build tank as long as he gets enough time in the fight, but zoning away.
But he knows what he needs to do. His role is to just be a frontline and be obnoxious. And the reality is that as long as you're able to apply those 5 bleed stacks, you can kill people. Like, he knows that he doesn't have to be the carry this game. He doesn't have to be the damage. And he's working effectively as a frontline, and I think Vitality, they should avoid trying to fight. Skirmishing, playing side lanes, looking for picks. It's really how they can best optimize their composition, and while they have the late game insurance of upset, compared to what we saw yesterday from Mad Lions, where they had things like the Braum and the Trundle for the Jinx to play around, Vitality don't have that same space, and it's much harder for Upset to find that space when you do have a Darius steamrolling straight towards you.
And it feels like a lot of that needs to be like, okay, let's stick Upset in mid, he can get that shove, then we can actually start to like play towards side lanes. But the problem is you nearly want Photon to be the guy in the mid lane so he can actually like lean and use that sneak ability, but he just doesn't really have a threat if he's the one in the side lane you're trying to play towards. So you can see even at the moment, he's moved down into that bot side to try and catch people out with Perkz, but it means now BDS roam up towards this top side, they've got the numbers advantage, they can brute force their way in to get vision at their next objective.
Yeah, and BDS, as long as Crownie is safe coming into these fights, they should be fine. So it's really on Perkz, Bo, maybe even Photon to try to find these angles to take the BDS carry out of the equation. But again, they have the luxury of a Thresh with the Flay, the box, the Lantern to take him out to safety. He's such a difficult champion to shut down in this game. Gale Force, Flash, Ghost, all up and available. It would take excellent CC coordination and lack of vision from BDS for them to find that pick, but Vitality can just keep fishing. If they find it, the fight could be theirs.
Well, right now, BDS are moving their vision line in towards the top side of Vitality's jungle, slowly bleeding them out and denying them access towards the Baron. There is that one control ward behind BDS as Perkz picks himself up another tower and a little bit more gold.
I think that's the one saving grace for Vitality here, though, is that, okay, there isn't really big siege potential. So if you can stall out this game with Photon's wave clear, maybe you can actually, and sorry, the Upset's wave clear as well, maybe you can just have Perkz try and play these side lanes. It's very difficult, though, when BDS just group up as this 5-man unit and just walk into your topside jungle to keep vision on the Baron, though. And I think BDS really just, on these next reset, just start up Baron, see if you can get the TP from Perkz, and then force Vitality to actually play your style.
Definitely something we have to keep our eyes on. Upset finally finishing his second item, still behind a BF and crit cloak to Crownie on the opposite side, but is going to start to hurt more in these fights, more than enough attack speed. Waiting for that third, though, before Jinx can really start to take over in these fights. I think it gets hard if BDS are able to grab this Baron. Yes, you have the Akshan wave clear, which is decent despite his short range. You've got Jinx wave clear, which is pretty good, but Ahri not a traditional control mage. Tools for Vitality to stall this game out are limited.
Tension continues to mount, waiting for that next crucial moment that could ultimately decide the game. It feels like that this is BDS's game to lose at this point, with Sheo being such a formidable frontline alongside Adam. The Warden's Mail proving a lot of value this game. They take away the red buff, don't smite it away. They basically, screw you, Crownie. This jungle belongs to me. And,
respectable.
Perkz continues to push in the bot lane. You can see he's getting very close to level 15, but his build, gentlemen, it doesn't do damage. It just doesn't. I'm telling you right now.
And that's why Nuke has no problem being on this bottom side. He's like, traditionally, Orianna doesn't want to be in a side lane because, oh, well, maybe I could have multiple members down here. But when everyone else has to try and defend Baron, doesn't matter. Perkz has no hope of ever killing this Orianna. So it's just a case of, okay, Orianna's going to get to free farm, get up towards her second item, try and hit that level 16 and become that massive threat in teamfights then. So it's not really like Vitality have many avenues on the map.
Just a very difficult game to play out. Of course, hard, I think, for BDS to really put their foot on the gas until they're ready to try and take this Baron. But as you said, there's really not too much pressure on BDS. Can just sit comfortably, can scale, can feel confident in knowledge that they will outscale. Crownie very close to the third item now. I imagine next base should give it to him, but Bo shadowing Photon to let him push forward. Really crucial that Vitality never let Bo show on the bottom side of the map. And looks like Vitality, they decided it's time to take a little bit of a risk. They're going to flip it on the Baron. Big call here. But Photon currently on the flank, I believe, in stealth. No, just in the river. So Vitality just doing a quick gut check. Just wanted to see, are you ready for this? Will you respond?
Oh, Crownie isolated in a side lane. Photon should have spotted him out.
TP coming from behind. He's ghosting now. He's got his entire team with him. That play's not going to work out. So TP essentially secured for free. Vitality now have Prio on the top side of the map. BDS will just respond by clearing out the waves for now.
I mean, it's a nice attempt by Vitality. I think they're aware that Dragon is going to come up in 45 seconds and they're probably going to have a fight. So trying to see if they can maybe make something happen beforehand, but
well,
easy
they're looking for that pick, right?
Yeah, something. Yeah.
It's you have to be proactive to a degree. They recognize that the fights are going to be difficult, so they're looking for something and they may have found it.
Force forward, slow, the charm, the flash out from Labrov. The timing just not quite there. Perkz so close to finding that pick.
He held on to his charm basically until the end of the root duration. He wanted to min-max that CC for as long as possible, but it ends up falling short. Now he won't have the ultimate for a potential dragon fight, but it looks like Vitality didn't want to take that fight anyway. Bo looking to get his level 12. Randuin's now completed for Sheo. Means that BDS continues to be in a strong position. A very muted game from Vitality, very uncharacteristic of what we've been seeing from this team throughout the group stages.
I think a large portion of that has just been a case of not having the same level of control coming through from the bot lane where they can try and play aggressive. I think that's really been where Upset and Kaiser have shown in the 2v2.
Yeah, for sure.
And even then when they get that advantage moving Kaiser around. So BDS now able to pick up their next dragon of the game. And again, we're kind of going, Vitality, you don't have the engage, so it's kind of just wait and see what happens to you.
And this has got to give BDS such a huge surge of confidence in this best of 5 because Adam has bested the counter pick on the top side. And bot lane, even though a Lulu showed up, even though a champion who should absolutely secure the push, who should be stronger in the early stage of the game, Labrov was still the one able to roam out, able to impact the map early on in a way that Kaiser just wasn't. And so I think that moving forward, BDS should be feeling pretty good about the games to come, about their individual matchups. That said, Perkz still fishing, Bo still fishing, Crownie perfect guns to try to take an objective if they want to go for it, but he seems content just waiting for maybe even item number 4 at this point. He's already got 3.
Yeah, I mean, take it easy, right? For BDS, you can just wait for next Dragon. You can wait for the Baron if Vitality ever just have that overextension. But I do wonder if Vitality kind of regret taking the Lulu away from the Aphelios, because I think having that Thresh in their composition would have worked a lot better, where they can actually fish for hooks, fish for something that isn't just Bo being that big engage tool. Because now with everything that BDS has, they're kind of just up a creek.
What I will say is Photon, nearing level 16, is working towards his third item himself. You expect it to be the LDR. We'll see what direction he does choose to go, but ultimately, Vitality are getting more and more damage as the game continues. Upset slowly working towards his third item as well. Perhaps Vitality are just kind of trying to lean on the fact that they do have 280 carries. And you can see that Photon damage, even though Adam and Sheo have built primarily to mitigate the damage of the double AD carry. True damage with Kraken Slayer does still help you shred through that.
You got Prox coming in as well. I mean, doing a lot of damage to Adam. It's a good sign. If Photon can get the space to just auto-attack Adam, the concern, of course, is that while he's autoing Adam, Crownie might be autoing him.
This is one of those things where BDS are... You could argue that they're slowing the game down a little too much. You know, they're the team in control right now, but it seems that they want to try and play as clean as possible. They don't want to afford any mistakes, but that also just gives Vitality more time to find that potential pick. So I feel like BDS should consider trying to be a little more aggressive, maybe force that Baron, maybe try and start that fight for themselves, because they should feel confident going into this 5v5.
It's also the fact that Adam bought an Elixir of Iron and just popped it the second Photon took a few shots at him. It feels like BDS are like, oh, well, this next fight is going to make or break the game. But they're very much in control. They could just try and force and not have to worry about all this.
And you highlighted kind of the struggles of engage, and I think it's the same story for BDS. Maokai, reactive engage, very good. Proactive engage is a bit difficult. You have to flash, twisted advance. I mean, Adam has to ghost at someone. We saw how much damage Photon did, so finding this angle is big. Sheo gonna open up, getting the smite down, just make sure the spell shield is gone. Perkz getting taken out here. Could very well just mean the Baron for BDS. Sheo just continuing to run forward, zoning off. The rest of the team now ready to descend upon them. What is the answer here for the rest of Vitality? Mid-prio seems to be the name of the game, but Crownie, Gale Force in, a quick auto, a quick shutdown, 700 gold into his back pocket.
Now this was the mistake that BDS have been looking for. With Perkz gone for 45 seconds, this is a big window, which makes it so much easier for BDS to find the fight that they want. They're going to start off the Baron, Crownie is going to look to melt through this, and Vitality are going to concede the objective.
They look like they're just going to try and take mid-tower, try and take bot-tower, and just a nice pick there from BDS. And that's one of the big problems that we saw for Vitality in week 3, was that when they tried to put Perkz in side lanes in these slower games, they overextend that little bit and get caught out, and comes back there once more. But Vitality at least gets something, but it's a big boon for BDS. Now they can actually siege onto these towers.
Absolutely is. Gold still within touching distance, but Infernal Soul just around the corner for BDS. A minute and 20 seconds in the duration of their Baron buff. It will spawn. Heavily favored to get that objective, and it will force a 5v5. Vitality are going to have to fight that one or find a pick shortly beforehand. Yeah,
it's really interesting, because when you look at the gold at the top, it's a little deceptive for the state of the game, because when we look at the gold, there is a massive gold difference between the two top laners. There's a gold advantage in favor of Perkz, but then there is a 3k gold difference between the AD carries. Crownie is so fed on this Aphelios. With the stopwatch secured as well, BDS should feel confident when forcing the fight, and this could very well be it.
Now going in though, Bo immediately gonna find 3. Crownie's been locked up, but he's managed to flash out into the backside. He is safe for now. The clone falling away. Look at Perkz landing. Perkz off to the side, trying to burn down Labrov, but Crownie remains untouched. Purple-blue, ready to keep the fight going. No ultimate available. Vitality, do they keep trying to push their advantage here? They burn the flash on Bo, they burn the flash on Upset.
So a lot of ultimates were just used there, and the Dragon is still alive. BDS have the push in mid. It was Adam that went back to base. The Dragon spawns in 15 seconds. Photon looking for a pick.
Now trying to find an angle onto Photon. Immediately the damage comes down. Crownie Gale Force forward to finish the top laner, but now he's out of defensive cooldowns. Vitality cannot find the angle. Crownie gets the pick, and this surely should mean soul for BDS.
But who's going to punish Crownie for that aggressive play? You've got no ultimate on Bo, no real CC to speak of, and that's why BDS are happy to start to push forward now. Bo needs to get on out of here. We'll hop over the wall as BDS siege up mid and prevent any sort of access for Vitality towards the soul.
Such a difficult game right now for Vitality. They found an okay angle to get some summoner spells, but not being able to finish those kills means BDS, even though they couldn't use this Baron, will be able to use this Infernal Soul. Bo may just try to flip it though.
And I like the idea for Vitality, but now they can't really get in. Bo's gonna be, oh my god.
Infernal Soul is gone. Adam is zooming. He is absolutely ready to start stack-a-lacking, but will not find the angle. Massive moment for BDS. Favored around the objective. Bo not able to get in there to secure it. Perkz going to try to push mid lane. Meanwhile, on the bottom side of the map, BDS descending.
BDS still have the Baron. No reason for them not to continue sieging onto this bot to tier 2. Crownie's just going to melt through that. No issue for him. And it's been a slow and steady game for BDS, but why not? Vitality yet to find a kill. And the damage looks good. The Q doesn't connect from Photon, but the confidence from Labrov to flash in, flay back, bring Crownie into the fight and say, you know what, my AD carry is better than yours. Crownie walks away the victor, secures himself the G8. Now level 16 as well.
And I think the window of opportunity for Vitality has closed, gentlemen. BDS can always open it again. We've seen that happen a lot in the last few days. Teams have taken big risks in the final moments, but I think you can see the calm determination that BDS are approaching this game with. They do not want to risk anything. They do not want to force anything that they do not have to. They wait for that pick on Perkz before they even try to step near the Baron, and now they are truly, well and truly in control. Yes, it is only a 3K gold difference, but Crownie is so massive in this game. The Infernal Soul as well. Big in the fights to come.
And you have to feel that, I know we're only in game 1, a long series yet to go, but for Crownie and Labrov, individuals that really initially debuted with Vitality, for them to be having such a strong performance like this, paired together, getting a bit of revenge on their former organization, they're looking strong, especially against Upset, who, because it was you who was telling me that in the last best of 5 that Crownie played.
It was on Vitality. He lost to Upset on Fnatic and Adam, hilariously, now changing sides here.
Brothers in arms. Now, as Bo
knocked back, blast cone out
away.
To safety. And Vitality doing what they can to just get a bit of control in mid lane. Perkz just willing to step up, just trying to do everything he can to clear the way to stop
Vitality's
BDS.
being annoying. They are doing their best to catch as many waves as possible, try and slow down the siege, but BDS should finally get onto this tower and watch as Crownie just melts through it.
Yeah.
They're just sweeping Vitality up on this top side. They'll actually manage to take a Photon again. Everyone for Vitality is still posturing. They can find Adam, but he's a big old beefcake and they don't want any part of it.
He's got 475 AD, guys. He's got almost 80% crit chance. He's got Infernal Soul. It's kill the Aphelios or die. Those are your options.
And they got both of his summoners in the last fight, but guess what? His Ghost is now back up. His Flash is, let's have a quick look. Oh, Observer's highlighting it for us, a minute away.
And I mean, he's got the Gale Force as well, so he's got all that additional movement speed. Now he's got Runeans too. He's got a Thresh Lantern.
I'd also like to point out, Nuke hurts. He's got the Cosmic Drive.
Yeah, okay, all right. But does his gold difference say ahead 4.1k individually, Dagda?
Yeah, you kind of got me there, to be honest.
To be fair, though, that's a good point that even if they do kill Crownie, if it means grouping up for Nuke Shockwave, the game might be over anyway.
It's like Guldborg playing the guess the name, because every time you put one down, it would just another one would pop back up because you didn't know what the answer was. And it feels like Vitality have no answer here. And if you pop Crownie, Nuke just comes back up anyway.
Yeah. It's hard. BDS probably going to break through this top lane tower. 3 members of Vitality on the bottom side of the map, just hoping to find a counterpunch, hoping to get something back in exchange. If BDS can force a fight here, they can end the game, but I think right now Vitality very aware of the lack of reliable engage options. But here comes the Crownie auto. That's big damage. My God. Oh.
Crownie basically looked at them and then said, yeah, okay, have fun.
How long ago was 2021? That's 203 years. My God.
Wait, hang on a second.
Wait a second.
Vitality?
What?
No.
What?
Wait, they're interrupting
This is not legal.
No.
Interrupting the back. Crownie going in. Crownie will not stand for this. Crownie stepping forward. Calibrum, it's going to finish it. A brief glimmer of hope. BDS briefly opened the window. They slammed it on the hands of Perkz and Photon. This should be their victory lap.
So you can see the idea there. Vitality trying to delay the back so that Perkz and Photon could maybe backdoor, but Adam was in a position to hold. Bo now in danger.
Bo knocked back. Crownie knocked up, but seems unconcerned. Just going to finish off the monkey. Now can just walk forward, no ultimate.
Just doesn't do what Crownie does, you know what I mean?
Right now, Upset just getting zoned out here, desperately trying to auto-attack Sheo out of mana, but the tree will not be chopped down here. Upset on the backside, last-ditch effort from the bot lane of Vitality, but there is nothing left here. BDS commanding game 1, shutting down the top lane counterpick. Labrov everywhere on the map. incredible performance. Vitality will not find a single kill in game 1.
A deathless run by BDS. A rare thing to achieve against Bo specifically. The man, regardless of his performance, will always find a way to get a kill. But BDS shut him down. Excellent vision control, patient gameplay. And sure, we question maybe they could have been a little bit more aggressive, but understandably, when there's so much on the line for BDS to qualify for their first ever LEC finals, they want to take it slow, they want to take it steady. You imagine the nerves were there in game 1, but after getting that win, you imagine the confidence is going to start to fill this team.
I mean, it's definitely a statement game, right? Sheo able to keep Bo in check. The fact that even with the counter pick in the bot lane, it went well for BDS. You don't have Photon doing anything on this Akshan the entire game. It felt like no matter what Vitality were bringing to the table here, BDS just had an answer.
Absolutely. I think it's an incredible start to the series. And again, when we talk about both these teams qualifying for their first final, it makes them feel like they're scraping in. But the level of performance BDS just showed is terrifying. These are the teams qualifying directly to the finals, not the teams with to fight through the gauntlet. So based on the performances we've seen lately, with no historical context, these are the teams that should be expected to win the split. And after that performance, BDS looking damn good. But that's enough from us. Let's send it over to Guldborg, standing by at the Telestrator.
Thank you very much, Drakos. Yeah, I'm feeling quite all right after that first one as well, and I want to highlight what actually happened in this early game because we had a bit of a support difference and team difference as well going into it. So welcome back to my Telestrator. Let's start off with it. So we have a play at around the mid lane. As you can already see on the minimap right now, the bot lane of Vitality is still around here, while the resets has already happened on the side of BDS and with Labrov as well. And this is going to be crucial because with the ward being spotted here and Sheo being spotted as well, look at the movement that actually happens on Perkz here in the mid lane. What he's doing is realizing that the enemy jungler is on one side of the lane over here. So if we split the map down in the middle here, he's gonna stay on this side because that would be difficult for Sheo to actually come in, and a lot of mid laners will do this. What he's not anticipating is the support difference we're currently seeing on the map with Labrov rooming in as well, while at the same time, we look at the minimap, Kaiser's still in base. And this is the reset timer that really matters. Because Perkz is playing off the side where he thinks he's safe, he's going to be met with an instant death sentence into the shockwave, into the setup. That's just bot lane priority into mid lane priority. Great utilization of pressure. Now, in this next kill that BDS gets, they spot Kaiser. They know he's going to go into this bush, but they have no vision around it. And while Lapra is going to start the sweeper, he doesn't actually spot him on the sweeper. He's just gonna go for the blind hook, and then the sweeper come in afterwards. Instantly gets him. He could have waited. He could have waited for the sweeper, but no, he felt the instinct. He felt he knew where Kaiser was gonna be, and they get another kill. The early game of BDS, a lot of that credit has to go on Labrov on the Thresh, because he was a madman. Now for the rest of the breakdown of this game, I'm gonna throw it over to the desk. Take it away.
Thank you so much, GB. And yeah, I agree. Labrov with his roams in the early game really defined the rest of the pace of the game for BDS. And let's look at the other side of the bot lane, Crownie, who played like a man possessed today, especially around the objectives.
100%. And I also think like off of those early kills too, and the plates with that exchange down the bot side, like Crownie was just ahead by like 1.5 to 2.5k for the majority of the game. That's almost an entire item in the bottom lane. But when it came to the team fight around the Herald, he was also able to again show that team fight prowess. I think BDS only end up finding the one kill here, but they kite back with the Maokai ult, root up the player, and then of course it's Crownie in the backline, sort of waiting for his moment of when he can actually get into this fight. Vitality think they have a moment with that re-engage, but it's another fantastic hook by Labrov onto Perkz, and Crownie tail force straight on in there. It gets the huge burst off of the gun there as well. So big damage that forces Vitality to scatter, and a few other good moments of the game.
Yeah, I think overall this game just showed that, you know, BDS is here, they're prepared, they're ready to play, because Vitality tried to throw a bunch of things at them, including here, you know, all of a sudden sitting on their Nexus, but no matter what happened, like BDS was just always one step ahead. They were better in team fights, they were better at macro, they were, you know, they just didn't give Vitality a chance to do anything.
I also think it was like kind of impossible after the early game for Vitality to do anything. Like, yeah, they were cross-mapping, but I think that was kind of like their only option.
Yeah,
because like when you actually look at how they could like approach something like a dragon and whatnot, they have one tankier dude in the Wukong because they went for the Akshan on the top side of the map. But he kind of wants to be the flank threat, so that means you can't like clear vision with anyone. There's no one to really do it, so you have to be using side lane priority and collapsing into a numbers advantage. But I don't know, like with how far behind the bottom lane was, even working your way into a team fight, I don't think was going to work.
I mean, that's the issue when you play a composition like this and you fall so far behind. It's hard to come back and contest, especially when you don't have the right engaged tool to maybe set up your Jinx for success, Broxah.
It reminded me a little bit of G2's first game yesterday, where Caps was playing Tristana mid into Victor, where this time it's just Akshan into Darius, where if you find a way to snowball on that pick and you can start taking over in the 1v1, you can solo carry the game. But if you make a mistake, like Photon did dying top lane, like there's just no way back. The entire team falls apart and there's nothing they can do anymore.
That was so rough, because even though like he farmed up, like Adam just doesn't farm. He was going for like the mega tanky Darius build, right? Akshan was like 2k ahead for the majority of the game. It didn't really matter because like you need like a really heavy side lane threat, and you could see that at moments when they're like trying to punish in the side lanes. And I think overall, I'm just not a fan of this last pick, Akshan. I think that you look at Photon as a player and you're like, yeah, I want to see him on a niche counter pick versus Adam. That makes some amount of sense. But at the end of the day, I think these games are coming down to team fighting. It was a very slow early game apart from those few kills, and the lack of another hard form of engage on the top side of the map to back up the Wukong hamstrung them completely and left them with no clear options to play the game.
I still would like you to make some kind of sense in this action pick, because again, that's the first time I think we see the champion in this scenario this year. Of course, when you leave the last pick red side for an action like this, it has to make some sense. So did they expect the top lane to go better or differently maybe?
I mean, with the gank, like they should be getting out of that, at least not dying. I think Photon staying under tower ulting when the minions are just gonna soak up all those bullets was a big overreach. And I think there's also like an element of like, okay, we see the vision where in a late game team fight, the Akshan revive into the Jinx get excited. Like there's some ideas there, but I think at the end of the day, that's like the back half of the team fight. And I think you should be drafting for the start of the team fight. And I would much rather like to have seen a different option, an engage option into the Darius.
I think it would also have been a bit different if they had a different jungler, for example. Like now they were stuck with Wukong, so they don't really have a tank. They don't have any form of engaging. But if that was a Maokai on the other hand, all of a sudden they can actually fight back. But here, there's just no tools to do anything once they fell behind. And I think that's something we're going to see Vitality change now. They're going to want a bit more flexibility and make sure that even if early game doesn't go their way, at least they have a way to, you know, get back on track.
I also think like one thing that surprised me was in the second phase of bans. I liked the Blitzcrank getting taken away because immediately I'm thinking, okay, Lulu, Thresh are the two really high priority supports here for both a Jinx and an Aphelios, and I would have liked to see them maybe ban one of those on the next phase, right? You get second ban there, and I think they could have taken away the Thresh, looked to lock in the Lulu, and been very happy, and then you, don't have that Thresh that's blind hooking you over the wall, and also removing a lot of the safety net of the Lantern as well.
And you know how deadly Labrov can be when he gets his hands on stress. Now, resetting for the next game, Vitality will be playing blue side, and I'm looking for adjustments, especially in priorities of the pick. So, Broxah, what do you want to see on the side of Vitality? We talked about engage, we've talked about side lane potential. What kind of key picks would you grab if you were Vitality here and focus on?
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the draft goes in a pretty similar way, but just with Vitality doing exactly what BDS did. Maokai has been a huge prio pick so far, and I think in general, if you can find a jungler who's not only tanky, but also has reliable engage, like Maokai, like Vi, you're just off to such a good start, especially because, you know, you're a first pick. You can also ban away another one if you want. So look for jungle prio one way or another. I think bot lane matchup was generally fine. But just securing themselves some form of engage and strong team fighting is key.
I think the big difference for them going over to blue side is likely seeing blind pick top lane. So not going to see the spice of the Akshan and probably like multiple bans committed towards Adam in the second phase.
All right, we'll see what they decide to go with. BDS take game 1 so far on the way to their first ever LEC final. Now it's time to see if Vitality can strike back. In game 2, we'll return right after this.
I'm going Swifties first. Bo getting aggressive, heroic swing coming in for Photon. Adam taking a lot of damage. That's the second proc, but Adam still walking for now. Third hit, not quite enough. Photon. Adam just. Oh! Did the tower swap aggro?
Just take all the control. Take tower, I'm not finish. No, just take control. Take tower, trust me. Look here. You're only two, okay? Go flash action. Action dies maybe? Nice, insane.